quickly, as we've said, today, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when cut-down day is. Rosters got to be cut down to 32 teams. So let's run through the news wire. There's a lot happening yesterday. Head on a swivel kind of pro football day, wheeling and dealing. First came bad news for you and I, Jack, and Houston Texans fans. Feared this, but the Texans announced that coming up 3 o'clock today, they're going to officially move their starting running back Joe Mixon from the active non-football injury list to the PUP list, the physically not able to perform injury list. Players placed on the PUP will begin. They can practice when they're healthy, but they will miss the first 4 games of the regular season. We worried about this with Joe Mixon. Remember, we told you during training camp last year, Joe Mixon missed all of camp with a quad injury, but then he was ready to go for week 1, 100%, and blew up threw for a rush for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Colts. This will not be the case this year. He's still dealing with a lingering foot ankle injury. Last year, in 2 different games, he got hip drop tackled. Joe Mixon did against the Bears and again against the Colts. Re-injured himself, and he was never right. And it's very troubling that here we are in late August and he's still dealing with that. There's no timetable, I guess. They want to have him back for the healthy and good to go for the stretch run. Until then, they're going to rely on Nick Chubb, who they signed away from Cleveland. Cleveland let him go because they drafted 2 rookie running backs in Cleveland, and Nick Chubb has looked good in camp. He looks like he's got some spark to him, and we know he's a downhill runner behind that gap scheme run game in Houston. Dameon Pierce will be a key fixture, the 3rd-year running back out of Florida. They're going to need him, or is he 4th year now in Houston? But I don't think anybody in Houston would not tell you this, that the offense that he came into when he came to Houston as a rookie out of Florida was right for his skill set. And then the last couple of years with Bobby Slowick, that outside zone scheme did not fit what he was. Mm-hmm. And now they're back to the pin and pull and the gap scheme running game with Nick Caley. And you've seen him flash again in camp where he can get into the, press the hole, get up in there and follow his offensive lineman. So Nick Chubb, Dameon Pierce, also the 4th-round draft pick out of USC, Woody Marks, who they traded up for. They like him.
I like him.
And they think he can be a factor, but they're going to need it because Houston was, I don't think Houston was counting on Joe Mixon not being healthy when they were building their roster through the offseason. I would imagine there's some truth serum would tell you they wish they had done more in the running back room if this Joe Mixon thing is still lingering. I don't think even Houston expected this, and now Mixon's out. They were hoping to have Mixon and Chubb with Pierce and Marks, and now you're going to rely a lot on Nick Chubb early in the season. Let's be honest about what the NFL is now. The NFL, because they pared back training camp so much and nobody plays, you go back even 10 years. Starters played a lot in the preseason, and they played 4 preseason games. And they'd all play a quarter in the first one or a couple series in the first game, a half in the next one, then they play into the second half in the third game, then they would play all in the fourth. We all remember that wasn't that long ago. Well, that's been pared back. The latest collective bargaining agreement they don't hit, and now teams are so worried about guys getting hurt that they don't practice at all. So let's be fair and realize that September is really the preseason now. The first 4 games, you're hoping to come out of that 2-2. Can you be 2-2 in September, not be 0-4 or 1-3, and weather it, and then October, November, December, you want to be hitting your peak and building. That's what Houston's going to hope for, I would think, for Joe Mixon, but not a good piece of news yesterday, obviously, for the Texans. Nick Chubb, they're going to need a lot out of Nick Chubb and an improved run game because if they can't run the ball, they're back to square one as far as their offense goes, even with a really good bevy of weapons on the outside for C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, and they replenished it through the draft with a couple of receivers out of Iowa State.
Who had good camps.
Yep, 2nd year, Cade Stover. Apparently Dalton Schultz has looked better.
Yeah, I just think the whole offense will look better based on who's calling the plays and who designed the offense.
But with Joe Mixon, Houston has an early bye week. It's week 6, so if you think about it, that PUP list means he misses 4 games. Do you really think he's going to play week 5 and then week 6 you're bye? So there's a chance you don't see Joe Mixon until week 7.
Yeah, that'd probably be the goal.
Probably
for sure.
Best case if it's still lingering like this.
And if you can weather it and take advantage of some games against bad teams in your division and be 3-2 or 2-3, you're okay for the kick drive there.
Start at the Rams, and who knows what they're going to be. Who knows what Matt Stafford's going to be. It seems like he'll be a little better.
If the Texans beat the Rams week 1, it's like the Cowboys and the Eagles. If you win that game, that's gravy, man.
Gravy. And then
you're not counting on a loss, but okay, it's football. It's the NFL.
Yeah, Tampa, I think that's a Monday night game. Then at Jacksonville and Tennessee. So that's Cam Ward's 4th game, and at Jacksonville before that. So
can you be 2-2? You're good.
2-2,
if you're 3-1, you feel great. And then, as you said, week 6 bye week comes at a good time to maybe get Joe Mixon back. That would be the goal. Other wheeling and dealing yesterday, nothing with Micah Parsons. As for you Cowboys fans, nothing new. Nothing to report here. The Cleveland Browns, though, did, according to reports, have removed a quarterback from their crowded quarterback room. The reports overnight that they have sent Kenny Pickett to the Vegas Raiders for a 6th-round pick. I don't believe that's official yet, but this would make sense. The Raiders were concerned about their backup quarterback because of an injury. They only have Geno Smith, and now they have acquired Kenny Pickett, who can be their backup quarterback. That will leave Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders in the Cleveland quarterback room. Still the worst quarterback room in the NFL. Joe Flacco's 41. Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are rookies, but that's your quarterback room in Cleveland now. Kenny Pickett has been removed.
Yeah, looking at this, the Cleveland Browns Twitter X account has posted the terms of the trade. It says all NFL trades are pending a physical. So that is like...
Because Kenny Pickett's been battling an injury.
It's happening unless he...
So the Raiders don't want a damaged goods, quarterback. But either way, give Cleveland this credit because they get bashed enough and they earn it. But the signing of Kenny Pickett earned them a 6th-round draft pick. Mm-hmm. Everybody asks why they did it. Well, quarterbacks are an asset. We got to the end of the preseason, and the Raiders needed a quarterback because their backup quarterback's not healthy, and they only have Geno Smith, so they're looking for a veteran backup. Okay, we'll give up a 6th-round pick to get him. That, whatever that investment was to get Kenny Pickett and not pay him much of anything, yes, it led to a crowded quarterback room through the offseason, but it also got you a 6th-round pick, which that's an asset. You take it, and now you build with the 2 quarterbacks you drafted, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, behind Joe Flacco. They're going to be in the quarterback market this coming April for one of these quarterbacks. There's no doubt about that. I don't think the long-term answer is playing for Cleveland right now. Raiders, by the way, also signed Amari Cooper on a 1-year contract wide receiver. They got a Jacoby Myers salary issue they're having, contract issue. So they bring in the 31-year-old Amari Cooper. Apparently the 49ers were kicking the tires too, but Amari Cooper is now a Vegas Raider. And the 2 biggest pieces of news yesterday, the training camp long stalemates in Cincinnati and Washington are over. Pass rusher Trey Hendrickson has agreed to a reworked deal in Cincy. He was the NFL sack leader in 2024, receives a raise that will bump his salary to about $30 million. They just put some money in the front end, which makes him happy over this year and next. He'll still become a free agent after this year. So, he's good. Okay, if I go out and ball out, lead the NFL in sacks again, I'll hit the market at 30, 31 years old with a chance to cash in one more time. The Bengals have to have him on defense. And if you're trying to be the optimistic Bengals fan, you now have Shamar Stewart, the rookie out of A&M, who's had a good camp once he finally signed, and Trey Hendrickson to try to put some pressure. And going into the season, the Bengals are going to score about 28 to 35 points a game with Joe Burrow. So how good does your defense have to be? For crying out loud. I mean, Joe Burrow, they're going to put the ball in the end zone with Chase Brown at running back, those 2 receivers, a good offensive line, or an improved offensive line. So it's not like you have to be the steel curtain over there. You got to, force some turnovers and give the ball back.
Man, do I dislike the way the Bengals play almost everything. But I think that if you go back to last season, that's one of the worst ways it plays out. I think they'll start better. I think they know they need to start better. I think the Bengals are a playoff team, but with that defense is not taking them far. I don't think.
No, can it carry you? We're going to get to that coming up with the Longhorns at the bottom of the hour. Defense wins championships still. Number 1 defense in pro football last year, the Philadelphia Eagles. Despite all the 2,000-yard seasons for Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, they won the championship because they had the number 1 defense. Ohio State was the same thing. They had flashy running backs and Jeremiah Smith and Will Howard and Chip Kelly. But they won because they had the number 1 defense. And that's where the Longhorns are trending. At least they think they are. We'll hear that coming up. Also, word came down late yesterday from D.C., our nation's capital. The Commanders and wide receiver Terry McLauren have agreed to a 3-year contract extension worth over $96 million. Both of these were, okay, we disagree on a number. Don't worry about camp. We'll get you signed right when camp's over. Don't want to get you hurt. The Cowboys situation we've told you with Micah Parsons is in a different soap opera stratosphere. This was about numbers and money. Once camp was over, all right, brass tacks, deadlines make deals. Let's get these done. I would say for Terry McLaurin, he is the vertical threat in the Washington offense. He's one of the most underappreciated players in the NFL, in my opinion. He's another Ohio State guy that's a receiver in the NFL that's a star. He led the NFL in contested catches last year with 24, so if you throw the ball up to him, he'll go get it. He's touchdowns against single coverage last year with Jaden Daniels, number 1 with 10. If you single cover him, he's going to be open. And as a rookie phenom, how about this? Jaden Daniels, when throwing to Terry McLaurin last year, 135.5 passer rating. He is his go-to. He unlocks their offense. They have 3 more years of him. And remember, they added Laramie Tunsil at left tackle and Deebo Samuel, who's going to patrol the underneath stuff. And they're going to use him as a running back. I know I'm upstream on this with a lot of people. I think he is a fantasy get in your fantasy football league because I think they're going to use Deebo Samuel as a swift army knife like they did in San Francisco in his prime. I know he's 27 years old now or 28. They're going to use him. They don't really have a go-to running back, but if you saw that Monday Night Football game they played, or was it Sunday night, first handoff went to him. They're going to use him on those sweeps, on toss sweeps, and then underneath, along with their tight ends, to open things up for Terry McLauren down the field because we know Jaden Daniels likes to throw it deep. And then Jaden Daniels can run too. So that's where the run game comes from in Washington. I think the Commanders have had a really good offseason. And they were in the NFC Championship game a year ago. They had to get Terry McLaurin done, and they did. That guy is really underappreciated as a player.
I think you're right. I don't like the number. You never like the number. But he's a guy
You're a cheapskate, Jack.
I know. But all the good GMs are. Every time I see a receiver sign a contract, I go take a look at Nico Collins' contract, and I smile.
Yeah, nice job, Nick Casario.
Terry McLaurin has been the best receiver on that team. He's been on that team through a lot of crappy years.
He's been the adult in that room for quite a while when Daniel Snyder was the coach there.
Absolutely. I think some of it's a little bit of thank you money, but I think Terry deserves it, and that's Jaden McDaniels' favorite target, and he's the best receiver on that team by far.
That was a numbers negotiation. We talked about the difference between this and the Micah Parsons thing, which is personal and it's ridiculous. Terry McLaurin, by one account, said he asked for like $38 million. He wanted more than Justin Jefferson when the contract negotiation began.
Well, then good negotiating, Commanders.
Right. Well, I mean, but that's what your agent should do.
Yeah, exactly.
We want more than Justin Jefferson because I'm sure he just gave those stats I just gave. He was first in this, first in this, first in this. That's better than Justin Jefferson last year. But they knew they weren't going to get that. But you start high, and you come back to the middle, and Terry McLaurin gets his deal. He'll be on week 1 when they play the New York Football Giants. Remember, the first weekend of NFL football, the Giants play the Commanders. Cowboys play the Eagles. So the entire NFC East is squaring off in week 1. Cowboys on the road at Philadelphia. And nothing done on the Micah Parsons deal.